Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Siloing Master here and I'm going to share some tips on how to create an awesome illustration. I will be using a illustration I created for a contest about the theme Treasure. I decided to illustrate a character that I created many years ago, making it a treasure that I keep from my childhood. At the time I created the character, I was really into Japanese animation such as Magic Knight Rayearth, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Pokemon. And I had a lot of spare time on my hands to draw every day, all day. Oh, such a delicious time. I have always loved and still love to this day drawing women, and that was still true at the time. I would start drawing a pose that I liked and would work the drawing from there. I've also always been attracted to intricate armor designs, which I got from delighting myself for hours at a time, looking over clamp illustrations and thoroughly studying different Pokemon species, both of which I used as inspirations for my own character. It did not take me a long time, and there she was. I just birthed a green-haired elf, beautifully armored, floating softly and weirdly twisted on the infinite white background. I finished the drawing with ink, pen and watercolors and just kept it in a folder for around 5 years until 2012. At that time, I had to create up to 5 characters in a group poster for a contest in a convention I was attending. I took her and 4 other characters I had created in a similar fashion during my childhood many years before, gave them names and a backstory, and voila, there I had my group. That was when I introduced Adamanta to the world. A forest elf that uses fire to get revenge on the people who destroyed her homeland. As a forest elf, fire is a very scary thing she has had to deal with. First, having all of her people slaughtered by human mercenary fire sorcerers under contract with local greedy farmers looking for more land to produce on. Then, exchanging her connection to nature for the power to control the same hellish fire that destroyed her home. That was my attempt to create a compelling, mysterious story that could be explored to make the public thrill, shock and awe as her story is unveiled. Personality-wise, she would be definitely an inheritant of the will of her people, while they refused to leave their land for decades, resisting constant threats from humans, although she ended up opting for more extreme measures to become able to manipulate what doomed her people. Independent, spiteful, determined, but sincerely willed to defend the weaker and do good. She ultimately decides to join the group when their enemy and hers become the same people. It's not the most original story, but my main intention was to deepen the character, avoiding having merely a pretty figure to draw. This is what, at least from my personal point of view, makes a great illustration. Not just drawing an image, but breathing life into it. In many ways, creating a good illustration is like cooking great food. There is no point in having a tasteful dish that looks like shit and nobody wants to eat it, and a pretty dish that tastes like shit will only serve to be left unfinished, undelighted by the audience. An illustration is something that most people will put a lot of work onto creating, and it's a good thing when other people put as much time into appreciating it as it took to create. That scenario usually becomes real when there is something in the artwork that strikes people who are looking at it. It may be the composition, the lighting, anatomical accuracy, or any other technical aspects, but the strongest will be the one that upgrades the piece to something more than just a pretty thing to look. I would dare call it the heart or the soul of the illustration. It's always important to give the public things to look at and a little bit more than just what meets the eye. Tell a story with your piece, and there will always be something there for people to look at. You can be especially good in drawing something specific, which is usually the case, so it's also important to explore that. It's a way to create and maintain your specific brand and make your art recognizable. So if you're really good at making backgrounds, make them the main focus of your illustrations, or if your eyes are just the most amazing thing in the world, just give them the spotlight. But one element that will never tire people or render a artwork outdated is the story behind it. It doesn't need to be a complex and thoroughly thought out story, it just has to be there, and it will certainly raise a simple drawing to an amazing piece of art. It is very important to include elements in an illustration that will bring up a story about the character. Maybe scars that they got in a life-changing event, a pendant or a charm from an important person on their lives, military symbols that they carry, books on their backpack. Elements like that can really help bring the illustration to life. Now, back to the contest. This was the perfect opportunity to put to use the guidelines I present here. Choosing a character I treasured from my childhood fits the theme. All that was left, well, was illustrated. I chose a seated pose since it would imply a connection to the earth. The left hand over the ground reinforces that connection, while her face, which is held up away from the ground, implies some kind of disconnection there. Her curled up posture is a way to translate pain or sadness as she actively conjures destructive fire over a tiny young plant, casting its destruction upon it, as if destroying her own roots by hand, by choice. All around her, there is a faint resemblance of the woods where she grew up. Now, only a cold, nightmare-like sight that surrounds and engulfs the life that she once held. A full resolution image will be available on my DeviantArt and Facebook pages. Please follow me everywhere, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to support. If you want to see more, comment down below if you have any critiques, suggestions or questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be seeing you again very soon. Bye bye.